Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterlands universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Praetoria.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
Send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode, another great guest. We alluded to it the last couple of weeks. We've got a recently promoted team member coming back to the show for his second episode with us. And things kind of flew under the radar. We were just joking around a little bit off air about how this promotion kind of snuck behind the scenes. And no more. We're proud to announce that we've got the VP of Engineering, the one and only Investigator, on the show with us. So good to see you, Gator. Welcome back. Congratulations on the promotion, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, man, good to have you. So yeah, I don't know if you got to listen at all to our episode last week, but you definitely got some high praise on that episode. You're the hardest working man on the team, and this sounds like this promotion is very well deserved. So yeah, congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I did catch the show with PJ last time. Trying to find out if there's any projects that he announces on any interviews that I need to know about.
So is that part of the job now? You have to follow around any kind of social thing he does and see if he's giving you more work to do.
Yeah, that's listen to Matt on the town halls and make tickets in the background about new things we're going to be doing. But yeah, I appreciated his kind words. It's not a super recent promotion, but we don't really publicize titles of the company necessarily, and it's a pretty small company.
Well, congratulations nonetheless, man. PJ was definitely not the first, and I don't expect him to be the last to sing your praises, man. I think, anytime we hear the name Gator come up, outside of the town hall, and even in some town halls, we hear, the jack of all trades, the hardest working guy. He's absolutely everywhere. He's got his fingers in all the pies. So, again, congratulations, man. Well deserved. Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So cool, man. We've got it's a little bit of an interesting time. It feels like, every episode we're able to say that very comfortably. And I think we've seen Eagle come out and unofficially announce that we've got the new reward cards coming in next season, right? The current season is ending in about 10 hours or so from now, 12 hours from now. So I guess that is looking like the 15th is kind of the date that I've heard somewhat earmarked for the next release. Is that right?
Well, there's another release that's going to be next week. That's not going to be any major new updates, mainly just fixes and a lot of quality of life changes. But we are doing an extra update or off our usual Tuesday schedule update on the 15th. So yeah, as Royal posted to Discord, that is the target for when we should be releasing the new set of reward cards. I did update, there's an event also in Discord marking that update as being a planned update time. But we should hopefully start seeing new reward cards come out through our YouTubers and hopefully from our creative department. That's kind of Nate project that he's supposed to be getting people different reward cards to start sharing over the next few weeks.
Nice. Yeah. Have you got to play with any of these cards yet on the test servers?
I have not. A lot of the testing has been done by the support staff and our QA person. I've been busy doing other projects and other uh, tasks, so I haven't really had time to go over and join any of the QA sessions on the new reward cards, but they have done several of them. And we took an internal poll about some of the new abilities and specific new cards. So I gave some feedback on those, but I did it without the context of seeing the rest of what's going to be in that reward set.
Interesting. So, I mean, I know you probably can't or don't want to reveal any of the abilities, but you tell us, like, what was the poll? Was it sort of like which of these, were you guys selecting which of these you wanted to see? Was it like, oh no, we think some of these are too OP? What was that poll like?
Yeah, it was, do you feel like this does X damage or X healing? Is this too powerful, not powerful enough? If it was one more, would it be balanced? If it was one less, would it be balanced? Do you feel like the casting cost of this card is appropriate for this ability and its stats? Kind of a general, is this balanced? Do you have any feedback on this? Just open, what do you think of this ability? And I can't really spoil them because there was a contest going on in Discord from a couple days ago, though I think it may have scrolled way up, where Lilyfire posted the new icons for all the new abilities and was asking people to post their guesses at what they thought they were and what they did.
Well, I think the real question on Hep's mind is Death finally getting a martyr card? And I'll go ahead and put that one out there. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a spoiler here.
I don't actually know because I haven't seen the full reward set.
Is that a common to get the feedback from the team like that? I don't know if I've heard of you guys doing that before. So is that something that you guys or that was done with other sets or other reward cards with Rebellion, or is this something new?
It was something new. We've done this usual play testing, and sometimes we put up kind of brief feedback forums with not really specific drill down questions like we built out on this one. We certainly have done extensive testing just to make sure new cards and abilities work as they're supposed to. But in the past, there wasn't as detailed feedback on, what do you think of the balance of these? Do you think, this should be stronger or weaker or not be on this card?
Was it for the whole set, or was it just kind of some key cards that maybe some people had questions about, or the team had questions about?
It was key cards with the new abilities for the most
Okay.
part. I think one of the legendaries that people had some questions about whether some of the abilities on it should be on it. To give a
Interesting.
teaser with no real information, but
No, that's like now I'm like, now I'm really intrigued.
Well, we've heard. I think Matt came out and said in the most recent town hall that from what he had seen, that he was expecting this set to be really meta defining, and I think the response was kind of mixed. We heard a lot about the previous set of reward cards kind of taking away value from Chaos Legion and Rift Watchers and making the Soulbound set pretty much standalone. Obviously, we're getting away from a lot of that with, as far as I know, summoners being excluded from this upcoming set. But does it feel like, in what you have seen, I realize you haven't seen the full set, but does it feel like a lot of the reward cards lean very heavily on, kind of the Rebellion set and will therefore drive value to owning or playing Rebellion cards?
I think that's the goal. Also, there is the consideration that as soon as the next actual card set comes out, since we're not really doing a mini set for Rebellion, that should trigger the next modern rotation. So these are gonna be the main cards in modern with Rebellion and whatever that next set is. They do it right now. It is introducing quite a few new abilities on the reward set, which part of it was, you sure you want to save some of these for our next pack set? But Call Me Tim is confident that he can keep adding new abilities to make the new sets fresh. So there should be a lot of interesting new play choices. That's the goal from this reward set. And hopefully it will open up some new metas. I know it may take a while to get them leveled up, so there may be some delay before we really see it impact high level play, but
Yeah, I've had that question kind of rolling around in my mind. How, because I've personally, I will pass 5 million Glint at the end of this season. Have you guys done some calculations in terms of, on average, what kind of Glint expenditure would be required to achieve a max set? And if so, what does that look like?
yeah, we did out the math, and I don't have it in front of me, but it was, I think, around 14 batches opened for most rarities if you're just doing straight rarity draws rather than trying to go with the RNG cards out of loot chests. And so it really depends on how many batches you want to open per season, because the cost dramatically increases as you keep going up in the number of batches. So for the higher end players, if they want to wait and try to only do one full batch per season, it's probably going to be like 14, maybe 17 seasons, because realistically, you're going to get duplicates and not get the exact cards in the pack in your draws that you'll need to max every single card right on that optimal draw. But so in looking at how much it costs, we looked at how much Glint the high end players tend to get per season. And how much kind of mid to high players tend to average on season. So we feel like it's fairly balanced by having the batch limits where the price jumps up. So it's probably too expensive for anybody to max it within a few seasons. If you really want to burn all of your Glint and have a lot of cards you can burn, maybe you can get it done in a couple months, but it's going to be a lot of Glint to do that.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got the top holders pulled up on Peak Monsters here, and shout out to Vugtis. I have no idea how he's accrued as much as he has, but he's at in excess of 28 million Glint, which is just absurd to me. So maybe there will be at least one max set floating around in Wild in the very short term, but yeah.
Yeah, we are tossing around the idea of slightly bumping up the jump in price per batch to make it so that Vugtis can't max out his set as early and have a massive advantage over other players, but probably not a appreciable percent. And for the average player, you don't earn enough Glint to buy one of max of each batch per season. I know I don't. Playing in Diamond 1, Champion 3 on my main account. I don't earn enough glint per season to fully get all of the draws. So I will probably be several months out before I get close to max again. New cards.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I have about 1 million glint saved up right now, so I'm trying to figure out how quickly I can get up to that kind of like gold level of cards. So, yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get up there in I don't know, 7, 8 seasons maybe. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see whether, once you see all those cards and stats, whether you're going to want to, just go after the legendaries till you get them, or kind of go after the commons and rares and first.
Yep, and you could get lucky and max something out far earlier. Some specific cards, or get gold foil legendaries. But by and large, it's going to be probably a few seasons before anybody gets decently leveled new reward cards.
Has there been any thought to adjusting offerings in the Glint shop? There's been as usual, there's been a ton of suggestions around, what the community would like to see in the Glint shop, something along the lines of, I burn 2 or 3 BCX of one rarity type in exchange for a very specific other card I get to choose, or maybe paying 2 or 3x the rarity chest cost for a specific card, that's maybe offered on rotation, something like that, to kind of even the RNG out. Has there been any consideration and or discussion around what the future of the Glint shop could hold?
There's been plenty of discussion. The difficulty is often in getting a final decision on what we want to do. I know gold foil almost got done, but then got pushed back and is now something that we're going to reconsider after the new reward card cycle. There is already the mechanic of burning the cards for Glint to get draws. I don't know that we're going to give necessarily a Hearthstone clone system where you can burn cards to get specific other cards. The idea of offering a specific card in the shop at an increased price has come up a few times. There has yet to be any firm agreement that we should definitely do that, or how much we should charge for it. And a lot of it comes down to Matt's not having time to decide on these things, or decide on costs and just design out systems. Also, we've got a lot on our plate already without extending new functionality in the reward shop, but I don't think it's necessarily completely off the table. There are maybe 5 or 6 projects I can think of off the top of my head that we probably want to get through first before we really take up anything too fancy in regards to the reward shop.
What are those?
So we'll touch on there's the proposals. So the referral rework, which passed a couple months ago now, which we are trying to move ahead with. Right now, it is waiting on creative to have bandwidth to redesign the affiliate program screen. Did most of the backend changes for it not too long ago. So hopefully that will get announced and out sometime in the next couple months. There is also the whole voucher proposal that passed, where we need to rework vouchers to be an in-game only token. trying to move ahead with that fairly soon. The main issue on that is actually adding stuff to the reward shop for vouchers. So we need someone to decide what we're going to put in the shop for vouchers, which at this point is going to be Call Me Tim, who I talked to recently, and it's about 7th on his list of things to do. He's got to design finalize the conflict reward cards, come out with the promo cards for the multiple promo sales we're now supposed to do, which is another thing that we need to work on. Is we're supposed to be doing a promo sale a month, I think, for the next 5 months from that proposal that also passed. Let's see, affiliate program, voucher rework. There is some discussion about trying to improve the non-spellbook player experience, which isn't something that's necessarily ready for anybody to start work on, but is definitely something that Matt wants us to consider doing in the near future. Since right now, a lot of the gameplay is kind of gated behind being a Hive account. We wanted to take a look and see if we could let people spend money on stuff without having a spell book. Actually rent out cards and buy cards, basically everything except sell cards and own tokens. But there's a lot of considerations behind that. And, if you can't hold SPS, how do you earn rewards? So there's a lot of the internal discussions that need to happen, but there are definitely areas of the game that we could make an off-chain option to do different things that, right now we're blocking behind spellbooks that don't really need to be blocked. I think joining guilds is something that requires a spellbook now. You couldn't necessarily earn brawl rewards, but let's see. There is the leaderboard rework to move the leaderboard prizes to be a tournament. Would like to see us move forward with that. Technically, we're waiting for creative designs on it, but I think we could probably do most of it without really redesigning that much of the UI. We are also working on revamping the new player experience. Still trying to get a new tutorial out of creative, but we're going to start redoing some of the pages when you first sign up to try to explain what's going on a little bit better. There is the tech modernization. We still have battles to do, basically, tactics and battles. Guilds is essentially done and in QA, but needs serious QA. I think tournaments did not get tested as much as I would have liked, and definitely went out with a lot of issues that came up from players in production that we've been fixing. I think after this next update, we'll have probably fixed most of the known issues with tournaments, but I'd prefer not to see a repeat of that with guilds and brawls moving over to the new client. And that's off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure we've got a couple other projects hanging out in the wings.
Gator, I can't believe you haven't
quite the
found
list.
time to look at the rewards cards, man. What's going on over there? Yeah, that's a whole slew of big stuff that you guys are working on. Can we focus on a couple of those individually and kind of get a better understanding of where the team's head is at?
Sure.
So the voucher shop one, I realized that very much went against what Matt was trying to put out there with the complete eradication of vouchers. And it sounds like it's, kind of been prioritized as a result to put something out there. Are you guys thinking, we got a response on that one from Nate specifically around, skins and backgrounds and, other aesthetic cosmetic type items being made available for the voucher shop. Is that the current line of thinking?
Well, we talked about this today, actually, and Matt really wants it to be a card per what was suggested in the proposal. So we need to design a card for that. He doesn't really want to pull cards from the reward set because that's about to go out. So he wants to design some additional promotional reward cards for it. Skins is actually another project too. We did fix skins fairly recently so that they actually work again in battles. But there's a lot of different ideas about adding kind of functionality to skins, be it like land bonuses or maybe SPS bonuses, kind of things that Matt talked about in the last town hall. And that is basically waiting for Matt to give us a design of what he wants implemented. But going back to the voucher proposal, what I'm probably going to move ahead with is doing half of it up front, basically moving it to an in-game only token, moving it to have a liquidity pool like grain. All of the discounts will remain in place until we get the voucher shop, because that is kind of the replacement for them being spendable on things. But we will probably pull them out of Hive Engine and the liquidity pool rewards relatively soon, because there's not really any design requirements behind that. It's all just kind of functionality. I don't know if that answered your question or if you want some clarification.
Yeah, I wonder, and I want to know if since you've got one of the guys responsible for putting together that voucher proposal, are you guys annoyed by all this extra work people are creating for you?
Not really. I mean, I think it's a good idea to do something with vouchers so it's not as big a drain on the economy as it has been. So the voucher shop was an idea from long ago, as those of us who've been around all remember. And basically, instead of making it a shop, we just added like one, individual functionality here and there. Like you can buy energy with it, you can buy wild passes with it. Back when you could re-roll quests, you could re-roll quests with them.
Oh, that's right.
And rather than make a shop with those things in it, we just kind of made random voucher usage throughout the site. I do think that cosmetics are a fine idea, though there is some debate over whether they should be sold for Glint, sold for DEC, sold for vouchers, promotional items that are leaderboard rewards for other promo card sales. But none of that, all of that is basically Matt's decision. But I definitely would like to see us add more things to the reward shop or for voucher utility as skins and cosmetics, because I don't think it would be a big lift personally.
Well, I'm relieved to hear that you all don't find it annoying. Maybe that's just the public record response there, Gator. But appreciate you saying so just the same. But man, I feel like the opportunity is, why not offer skins, cosmetics, yada yada for all of the above, DEC, for SPS burns, for vouchers. But I think there's the opportunity for like foil versions available exclusively for vouchers. So, maybe it's one skin that's available for purchase depending on your token, but there's a very exclusive different version of the same skin, maybe just a foiled, I don't know, platinum foil or something that's available via vouchers. But yeah, I think that the community is definitely hungry for the cosmetic side of things. So yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. And I know Nate has a slew of cosmetic stuff, kind of waiting in the wings up his sleeves for the time when the team is ready to release these things. And I hope we're all pleasantly surprised with the appetite for skins.
Yeah, I think a lot of the holdup with them is a lot of internal back and forth about not. I think we should just release some skins as skins, just nice cosmetics that you can buy if you want your cards to look cool. But right now, there's a lot of back and forth about, well, should we add utility? What utility should we add? Should they, give you bonuses? Nate's right now a big proponent of combining skins to level them up, which
Boy, seems like we're just making this more and more complicated.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the skins thing, and I don't know, is it one of those things where we've got to have it kind of figured out because it'd be more work later to go in and change it or to revamp it, or because yeah, like you said, like why not just release, we can always have all these great ideas, but why not just release some skins now and see how it goes?
Yeah, I would prefer to do that because I don't think it would be a big lift. But uh, at this point, I am waiting for Matt to have time to decide what he wants us to release for skins. Apparently, we've got at least a full set of, I think, Chaos Legion reward card alternative art. Um, I did also find some alpha alternative animated art skins that we made when I was going through and fixing up the skins functionality. They're not great animations. They're very dated from the alpha style of art, but we apparently never released them. We've got this artwork kicking around that's just been in some folder for the past 6 years. So yeah, I'm hoping we can get a decision made and get some of the stuff out in the shop before too much longer, though. With all of the projects that are bubbling around, I can see why it's a lot, especially because Matt is also going to Hive Fest fairly soon and is going to be, having to travel and be out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm hoping by Q4 this year, we start to get some time to get decisions made and additional projects in. But maybe it'll happen sooner. We'll see what Matt tells us to do.
For the skins, I know you kind of have, it's all kind of based around, is it all based around the cards? And I know that's what was done in the past, so probably that's the easiest, but are there any other types of interesting layers like your battle screen background or any other types of animations that that are out there that you guys are thinking about using, or is that something that's a whole different other project you'd have to get set up and running?
Yeah, that is also part of the discussion. I think we're often also getting bogged down in that we don't necessarily have a system set up to do custom backgrounds based off of, cosmetic or configuration. And avatars is another one. Nate really wants to move to a different style of avatar and not make any more of the little profile icons, but do a redesign of kind of the battle UI, which shows like some full-figured summoner on both sides, which I think he showed in, I don't know, Splinterfest maybe a couple of years ago. So he still wants to do that. I don't know when that's going to happen. At this point, we are trying to do the conversion of the battle display to the new client, but I don't know that it's going to include any massive redesigns because I don't know that we've gotten a final design out of the creative team for that.
Does moving all that stuff over to the new client, is that going to make doing this implementation and maybe making changes in the future, is it going to make it a lot easier on you guys, or is it about the same amount of work?
Um, it makes some things easier. It's definitely easier to use more third-party open source kind of web utilities in the newer client code. And I think more of the younger programmers are more comfortable in the new client doing React rather than straight JavaScript. Some of the older programmers are a little more comfortable in the old client, though I think at this point they've probably had time to get a little more acclimated. But yeah, a heavy selling point was at the time we started tech modernization several years ago was that, the main developers that were working on the UI were more comfortable with a more modern UI language and wanted to, do this big project to move everything over to it. And not that long after, all those people got moved to work on GLS. And a bunch of other people had to start figuring out what to do with the client, which is also why the project got drawn out over several years. The main people pushing it got moved to different projects, and then it was kind of who's picking up the slack? And we've got our other project we're doing. I'm glad we're finally getting to the end of it. It's been a long time coming and should make deployments easier, if not necessarily quicker than they are.
Battles, is that the last piece?
Basically, tactics and battles are the only two pieces not moved over. Technically, the tutorial hasn't been moved over, but I do not intend to spend time to move the existing tutorial over. When they give us a new tutorial, we will do it in the new client, but that old tutorial really needs to go.
Yeah, let's have a retirement party for that guy.
Yeah. I don't know if PJ, I forget if he got into, he did a focus group basically with some of his friends on the new player experience. And yeah, they panned that tutorial pretty hard, which is fairly deserved. It is several years old, was kind of a thrown together thing when it was originally put into the game. And there has been no real improvements to it other than us making it not broken several times over the years when we've released new cards.
Yeah, I mean, just the game has become so much more complex than it used to be as well, right? Like even if it was an awesome tutorial at the time, it probably doesn't really convey all the information you need to have in the game anymore.
Yeah, it also plays at 1x battle speed, which you can't speed up.
Oh boy.
Takes a solid 20 minutes to get through and is a lot of screens of just text. Characters talking at you.
I hope you're being generous with your adjectives there, brother.
Well, I'm trying to be nice and be a little considerate for the fact that I know a lot of this stuff was kind of just slapped together by people in the early days when they were getting this thing, off the ground. And at the time it was, a big endeavor and innovative. And it's, with the hindsight of the last 6 years, how games in this space have evolved. And 6 years is, an age in tech and in gaming. So I'm trying to be nice. I mean, you don't make fun of like the graphics on like NES games, right? Like, make fun of how crappy some of that gameplay is because people are just starting to do it. So kind of try to give it a little respect in that view.
Yeah. Having had to do it several times to fix issues with it or to do testing with it, it really needs to go.
So Gator, you highlighted the new player experience as another one of the projects on your, off the top of your head bullet point list. How are we pacing to kind of putting the final polish on the new player experience and getting it out there? Because at the beginning of the year, that was kind of highlighted as, that's going to be the hallmark in our development through 2024 is completely revamping the player experience. And you guys have done a tremendous job. It's bits and pieces that are getting rolled out, and it's a very different space now than it was 10 months ago going into the year. But all things considered, how close are we to kind of comfortably ticking the box on having new player experience at a place that we're kind of ready to move on to the next bit and hire the marketing squad and make the subsequent moves that come after having that box ticked?
Well, PJ has kind of been lighting a fire under Nate that this really needs to get done. So we have some movement on an initial redesign of the new player kind of initial several screens that gives a little bit better indicator of what you should be doing if you want to play the game. I really think that the tutorial needs to be redone and potentially broken out into like mini tutorial modules, which again, Nate has teased several times that that's something that they were working on. Still waiting for him to hand that over to the development team so we can actually implement it. But from my understanding, last time we talked about it, they're waiting for the battle client to be moved over to tech modernization because they want to run all the battles through that. That's what they were waiting for.
That's what creative was waiting for to do the tutorial. But those pieces aren't. I don't understand why those things are related at all.
I don't either.
Wait, so yeah, no, but really, like, this seems like if this was such a big thing in the beginning of the year, this should have been almost like step one is what they should have been working on. I mean, this has been a glaring issue, and you would think that, all right, let's get this thing rolled out. I'm not waiting to I don't know. It's saying we need to wait till the battle things for. But
I
that's
was
like
there. It was pretty explicitly clear that our number one priority should be fixing the new player experience. I do not know why we don't have a new tutorial yet, 8 months later. We are still waiting for that to come out of the creative department so we can implement it. To be fair, they have very limited staff and they're getting projects thrown at them left and right. So I think it may be an issue of, what got thrown at me most recently. But yeah, PJ has definitely been pushing like, no, really, this needs to be the number one priority. Stop working on everything else and get the new player stuff done. So I am hoping that we get that done over the next, it's going to be August in a day or so, next couple months. But that's definitely going to be our priority once anything comes over the fence that's related to the tutorial or new player kind of introductions to the game. I'm going to make sure people get on that pretty much right away.
So keeping the battles as kind of the last piece of the puzzle for shifting over to the new client, is that because it's the biggest piece of the puzzle?
Yeah. originally, when we were talking about timelines, we had ballparked out basically several months of development to get the battles moved over and tested. It's going well. Antioch, who is very, very good at doing UI work, is working with Meloman, who did the original battle screen. And he's basically got a working prototype. He just needs to go through and account for like every ability and every different thing that triggers in the battle. So I'm hoping it'll actually come in ahead of what we estimated, but it's going to be a couple months at least still.
Has there been maybe a little bit of an aside, but on a related note, has there been any talk that has resurfaced around how we can go about applying tactics to brawls and tournaments in effective and time effective fashion, meaning from the player experience?
No, not seriously. That is something we need to revisit. I did get that working in a fashion when we were messing around with fixing things with tactics, but it definitely gave an unfair advantage to whoever went second. Where I had fixed it so that it would show if your opponent's team was available, and then you could do it, but that's not fair to whoever submits first and encourages people to both try to wait till the last minute to rush in their teams so that they're not the first one to go. So yeah, the way to do that is basically going to be to add another like phase to brawls, battles, or tournaments where it's submit team and then everybody has a tactics time frame, which would kind of slow things down. There's probably some better ways of doing it that we haven't thought of off the top of our heads, but it hasn't really been a focus or a main topic of discussion. But if you get any great ideas, feel free to let us know.
I mean, I don't know if there is a better way, but it is a really valuable piece considering, that's what the future of land holds too, right? Like this would set that precedent for what does that secondary phase of battle ultimately look like and feel like. Yeah, I don't know if there's a better way outside of, maybe lopping off some of the time between brawls and allocating that to that additional phase. But yeah, I don't know if there's a way for, tournaments, for example, to not just be drawn out an additional day between rounds to allocate for that
I feel
additional
like drawing
phase.
out brawls wouldn't be too bad as a player. Tournaments would be kind of annoying to like double the time on all of them. But yeah, it is something that we probably need to think of a better solution. Maybe thinking about it now, if like once both players have submitted, you individually have like another go back and do your tactics for the match timer. It doesn't start until your opponent submitted. And they'd have to, submit. It'd be tough because it still encourages like last minute submissions, so you're not giving your opponent time to do tactics. But yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, and stuff. There doesn't, unless you add more time in, there doesn't seem to be a good way unless it's something where we have, tournaments that are in more of a, I know we talked about these before, to kind of just have like instant join up tournaments that kind of kick off as soon as everybody fills it up and people are kind of live and there and ready to go. And then you could do it, do it that way if like on those certain types of tournaments, right? Because then people are kind of, know they're going to be dedicating their, you know, an hour or whatever it would take to sit there and do it and get through the matches and then get on to the next round.
Yeah, I think tactics do work for live tournaments. It's been a while since I played in one, but I think it's just the time delayed anytime tournaments where you have to do a blind submission.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I haven't done one of those tournaments in a long time either. So
Has there been
check it
any
out.
thought to, those live kind of, hot and ready tournaments? Feels like, I mean, that would be a lot of fun if we were able to implement something like a dynamic payout based upon how many players join up on the tournament and what is the required ante to participate, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that falls afoul of gambling laws, which is why we don't do it.
That
Interesting.
I think that's been brought up before. That's why there has to be just set tournament prizes, and they can't be based on participation or something with, gambling or lottery.
Does the SPS chain allow for a workaround there if it moves to a completely decentralized place?
It could, and if we're not the ones doing prizes, you can do whatever you want. We are not. The company is not responsible. So you can certainly do out of game prizing in that style. Take a little extra work, but not suggesting anyone violate any laws, but just saying that as a U.S. company, there are certain things that we're not allowed to do.
Interesting, yeah. Well, if the DAO is doing it, and the DAO is based in the Panama or wherever they're looking at putting it up in, so maybe they'll have different laws that you're allowed to do it.
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, we we had Siler on, I guess it was a couple of months ago, right on the heels of his hiring at Team Splinterlands, and Matt kind of alluded to, I think it was Matt, might have been you, Gator, talking on the last town hall about kind of the bot detection, battle helper detection being in a place where you guys were more comfortable kind of rolling that out full steam and kind of issuing another warning that, hey, if you're using battle helper, this is, we're starting to look out for it a little bit more. Can you give us a little bit of a progress report there? And is my understanding accurate?
We did add some additional changes, which basically we set up some changes that would auto ban instead of having to manually review, which has been useful. We did find a bunch of team creation, like really edge case bugs that should be fixed in the next patch because we're now like logging logging a lot of details when someone gets banned so we can review it. We did catch our own bots, which all the liquidity bots, we put in modern.
Well, I guess it's
After those
working.
got banned, and then we had to go back to like, oh yeah, we put bots in modern. Well, let's allow those. That was
Is that a process of just whitelisting certain accounts? Is that how that
yeah,
works?
we had to go whitelist our own accounts. It's kind of oh yeah, we do run bots in modern that we don't want to block.
Well, I wonder if the reason I mentioned Siler is, I don't know, Gator, how familiar you are with, he calls it the XBot Battle Helper. It's probably not the best name given the connotation of XBot Battle Helper, but it allows for in battle manipulation of the screen. and you can adjust the background. You can ramp up the speed. I want to say it's to 12x or something like that. You can just display, win percentages and a few other things. So I'm wondering if there's room for Siler and his kind of current projects deployment to kind of leverage him for some of the UX UI stuff and what he's already accomplished as a third party provider.
There's been some discussion about it. There's been some pushback about giving him essentially access to the code, more of the code that he would need to be able to really do that. Since he does run a third-party service, whether or not that's kind of giving unfair advantage to a third-party provider. Usually when we hire people to do coding, there's a hiring agreement that they are working for Splinterlands and don't have conflicting business interests that in this field. So if we could separate more of the backend code from the client code, then is currently done in the code base, maybe we could utilize him a bit more for some of that, which has been suggested. If we ever get back to a mobile app, maybe that would be a good project for him to work on. So I think that we're probably just going to try to wrap the website if we do that. So it probably won't be too involved. I do know about some of the stuff he's done because I've seen the screenshots in Discord with the win percentages and stuff. It's a complex subject. I would be happy to get another UI developer, but I don't know if we want to give someone who runs a bot service full access to the code base.
So is modularizing, I think that's a word, modularizing the code base essentially what you're referring to, and is that part of moving things to the new client? Is that how the new code base is getting restructured, or would that be something completely additional to how you guys are currently operating?
It's essentially part of it right now, though there was the idea that we would also move over all of the backend code to a new code base, but right now I see that being a fairly low value, large effort project. There are some benefits to the client code being more up to date. The backend really works fine as it is, and most of the stuff that we've done, there were different projects, non-card market and land mainly, where portions of them were done in the new client as new backend code. So there are some, I think, vNext APIs out there. But typically they haven't necessarily made any, it's not really an improvement over the old backend. It just kind of shoved it into a different place and occasionally made it more difficult to build. But anyways, long story short, there are a couple things that would probably need to be ripped out to make it a relatively safe client-only project, which isn't really on our timeline of projects of things to do right now. We might revisit it in the not too near future. There is some discussion about, right now all of our database updates have been moved over to the new client, and we really need to clean that up, which is taking out our database architecture would also be good because we don't necessarily want to share that around to people that aren't, aren't directly employed by the company. But anyways, long story short, it would take some effort, and right now we've got a whole bunch of other projects that we're trying to get done.
Yeah, that's that seems to be the general refrain always. I feel like you guys, or for reasons of the proposals and stuff like that, it's like you guys are constantly getting more stuff dumped on you. Um, but yeah, no, it's been great to see the progress that has been made. So yeah, you mentioned that the idea of going back to doing a mobile app again is that like on the wish list of projects if you guys one day and got everything done and maybe have a bigger team or something like that, or is the focus just going to be, hey, no, we're just going to focus on making everything run off of the mobile web browser?
Definitely right now the focus is on making everything function well off the mobile web browser. I It's more of a wish list item. I think it wouldn't be a terribly difficult lift that once everything is already mobile optimized to kind of wrap the website in a browser. We might need to make a few changes to cut out some things that probably the various app stores wouldn't want us to have on there with there's a reason why the different parts of the website were not available on the original mobile app because
Mm-hmm.
don't want the app store to take 30% of.
Right. Yeah. Every transaction.
Yeah.
So, so then what's really the upside of having it then? If you've got to do this extra work, you got to have stuff that's not available. Is there just increase the player base? Like, would that is it shown that people are more likely to play it if it's an app, whether as opposed to just going through the web browser on the phone?
I think so. I think it'd mainly be marketing and trying to get new players in via the app. Um, and again, this is more of a wish list. Maybe we'll do it in the future type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So 2025 sometime at the earliest.
Hey, let's not give any dates.
Well, it feels like, if you guys are strongly reconsidering what does that non-spellbook purchase new player experience look like, it might be worth a little bit more consideration once that is up and running and operational, because that would have no issue translating directly to the mobile app experience, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, mobile is such a huge market. Not having a great experience is definitely a hindrance to getting a lot more players, or it definitely turns off a lot of players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to talk a little bit more about the non-spell book. Because that's something I didn't, really even think about. It's been so long since I started playing the game. I think I probably got the spell book pretty much immediately. Um, I'm sure I did the tutorial thing maybe. I actually I don't even know. I feel like I don't really remember any of it or remember only a little bit of it. Maybe it was so bad I just blocked it out. I don't know if it was like a traumatic experience for me or something like that. But yeah, so that's interesting that like I didn't even think about what parts of the game and how it would need to be reconfigured to allow access without a spell book. Is it something you're looking at like where you could start to earn rewards but sort of can't claim them until you buy the spell book, or um is that in discussion, or is it something we got to set up a whole different system with how you would have rewards and things like that?
Yeah, it's still definitely in the talking about it, how it would be implemented phase. But that was one of the ideas thrown around was that you could maybe earn Glint, maybe not SPS. and buy soulbound reward cards with it, so that there's kind of still the gameplay reward loop. The real question was, well, how do you earn Glint if you can't have staked SPS? Because we made all rewards based off of staked SPS. And there's been some debate about whether that's something that's exploitable. If we, would want to let people earn soulbound rewards for non-spellbook play as try to get them into the game. And still very much up in the air what the final decision on that's going to be. Some of the ideas tossed around are giving them very limited Glint, as if they had almost no SPS. But would that be a good experience? So probably not.
Yeah.
Boosting.
That's stuff, right? You want to give people to want to play, right? Give people a reason to play and a way to earn something that makes it more likely that they'll want to keep coming back to playing, right? And you see that with a lot of other, almost, I mean, obviously all Web 2 games and a lot of their Web 3 games is there's this kind of model where you can earn some types of rewards without having anything staked or without purchasing cards. So but yeah, so that it's interesting. You have to like kind of rework the whole system or come up with something completely new, right? That does work in that system.
Yeah, I think the initial approach is going to be what additional functionality can we give that we're currently blocking to on-chain transactions that really doesn't affect like holding tokens or payments, and can we either make some system where it proxies that, which we used to do. This was one of the things I did not too long after I started, was ripping out our whole proxy system so that you had to have a Hive account. But we used to let free-to-play accounts basically own stuff and hold stuff, and we ripped all that out at one point. So whether we do want to go back to doing that or move stuff off chain and just make it direct API calls for non-spellbook accounts. That's more of a implementation question, but there's probably stuff that's we can open up more of the game to players that have yet to buy their spellbook and make it hopefully a little better experience. Maybe they can get into guilds and hang out with other players rather than constantly being directed to make a purchase of the spellbook when they try to go to different areas. Part of it was also like you could buy cards, and then unless you bought the spellbook, they'd basically be soulbound to your account. So you couldn't sell anything back on the market, but you could buy packs and buy cards and open them and get them, assigned into your account and improve your deck and combine up cards. So you could have a better play experience, but you couldn't earn anything off of those cards necessarily, or at least outside of maybe Glint, unless you bought the spellbook.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome idea where you give people the option to buy the cards with credits or something like that, without having to get into the crypto aspect of it. That might appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the hope. Make it a better experience as a game.
Is there any thought that is currently being given to maybe establishing a new league or a new game mode for these non-spellbound purchasing players to maybe take advantage of like full ghost card set, max level, and really kind of sink their teeth into what the game fully has to offer, and then if and when they do move over to pulling the trigger on a spell book, they are then jumped into ranked as it currently lives, or would they be competing in the same leagues as everybody else?
I think the current idea is the same leagues as everybody else, since right now we've got fairly low match liquidity. It's certainly an idea, but not one that's really been heavily discussed. I guess I'll call back to a year ago. Last time we talked, I mentioned additional gameplay modes. I know we've coded two that we have not released. They don't really have polished UI, and it's more or less extensions of new tournament play styles. And I'm hoping once we get through our large backlog of current projects, Matt will agree that we can spend a little time releasing some additional game modes.
Gator, you know you're we're not going to let you off the hook without offering some detail on that one, buddy. What is additional tournament gameplay styles? What does that look like, at least in concept?
So it's not necessarily something revolutionary to the collectible card game, but one person coded up a sealed deck mode. So you open packs and basically play with them. And somebody else coded up a draft mode where it would present you with card selections and you would build a deck as you went out of like pre-sorted options of cards. Both of them were coded and playable at one point in time, but didn't necessarily have polished UIs or get any agreement from Matt that they were important enough that we should focus on getting them into a release shape. But they are definitely things I would like to get added at some point, because it's been a very long time since we've added significant additional gameplay. I think Ghost Cards was really the last major new feature for gameplay options.
Well, interesting. Yeah, that sounds fun. That's something I know, especially the draft mode one is one you get here thrown around, idea you hear get thrown around a lot. So is it just kind of like the UI and stuff that would need to be polished up on it to get it out and test it and get it out, or is there like significant work that would still need to be done?
I think for the sealed, it's pretty trivial amount of work. We may take another run at Matt at him agreeing to release it in another few months. I think a lot of the concern was over, well, what do we do for prizing? And I think we just say, here's this mode, DAO assign prizing, put it on the clay. Now that we're no longer the ones doing all the tournament prizing. The draft mode would take a little more UI consideration. It was a very rough rough UI, programmer UI for it. But it was an interesting play mode, and I do think we should revisit it and look at getting it into the game at some point.
Gator, is it possible to put ideas like this into a sandbox environment, make it very clear there's no prizing available, and just see what is the uptake on this sort of stuff, and is the juice even worth the squeeze to pursue any further development and move it into the production servers?
Yeah, it's also a matter of time, I think, for with the 8 or so current projects, until those are all done, I don't know that much else is going to get prioritized, but and that's basically what we did internally. Somebody coded up, was like, hey, I made sealed mode. It's on a QA server. If people want to go play it. You're like, oh, that's cool. We should probably release this. Like, maybe maybe in the future, it kind of needs some more work. We don't really have time to polish this. Okay, well, we'll keep sitting on it then. Uh, and yeah, some of it is a question of is the juice worth the squeeze? Right now, the focus needs to be on new player experience and getting new players in and into the ecosystem. This would be probably more something for the existing player base, but I am in favor of adding additional gameplay.
Yeah, I have to imagine that, any new game modes that come into play, whether or not there's pricing on the table, I think folks would probably be chomping at the bit to just have that option available. I mean, right now, personal experience, the only real gameplay is always with something on the line. So it doesn't really give opportunity to, obviously there is the challenge system, which I would love to, see a revamp. And I think the kitchen table game mode has probably made it across your purview there, Gator. But yeah, I think any sort of free to play competition, I think folks would eat up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Ghost Card Challenges is on my backlog of things to look at doing. It's probably not a heavy lift. It's just a question of when I find time and decide to try to add that in, and if it's gonna get used. Apparently, alpha challenges have been broken for the past, I don't know, since we added tech modernization to the battle history, and no one's noticed or reported it.
Oh, well.
So I don't know how many people are using the challenge modes.
Well, I think
I don't know.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I don't know how many people are using them in just an alpha cards only mode. I mean, there's probably like,
Yeah,
a couple dozen guys who have those decks to do that, and they've all got those cards on wild, and they're probably not out challenging each other.
yeah, yeah. I do
Yeah.
think that ghost card additions to that would hopefully give it a little more options. I know originally we were worried about people using it as a bot trainer if we added it. But at this point, I think a lot of the concern over mass bot armies is died down significantly with the introduction of the wild pass.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being able to manipulate the parameters of a battle would be massive. Jimmy was talking about purchasing one of the new rebellion cards and chomping at the bit to go out and play it, and then got 5 or 6 battles in a row where it was not possible to play your new card, which can certainly be annoying.
It always
but
happens.
It always happens, yeah. And especially from the streamer experience, like we get the new airdrop card, and I'm trying to put it out in its full glory, and not being able to get a battle that allows for it kind of leaves a little bit to be desired there. So yeah, I think just going back to being able to play with your cards and play without the fear of losing out on winnings, SPS and Glint. There's definitely a thirst for it.
Yeah, though that also goes into trying to make every card useful under certain circumstances. So, there's different rules that block the best cards from being played all the time. But that can be annoying. It's also annoying when you're trying to QA something and trying to get a certain rule set to allow certain cards that you're trying to test. They don't come up. You get blocked from playing a particular color.
Oh no. Well, it was our understanding. We had Mansur on not too long ago, and he said that there was something on the QA server that allowed for, my understanding was it was fundamentals only, and very, I guess, programmer level UX UI that allowed for full manipulation of battle parameters. But
Yeah,
yeah,
if you're a developer, you can go turn off it's a bunch of work, but turn off battle rules and turn off different conditions. But uh, do that if you're really trying to get your testing done. Usually it's just, I'm just gonna spam battles till I get what I need. Just surrender if I don't.
bring on the game modes, Gator. Community wants them. Well, let's circle back to some of the proposals. So we just had we touched on the promo card proposal getting passed. Is that planned on starting up as soon as August, September, or do we have any sort of timeline on delivery for when we should start expecting the monthly promos to begin?
I believe the goal is to have an August promo sale and then one for the next, I think 5 it was, following months. It is still in the design phase for what the card's going to be at this point. The part of the problem is it's the same person doing the reward card set that's going to be designing the promo cards. But so I would probably expect that in the latter part of August, probably near the end of the month, for that to start.
Is it going to be one card each month, or is there going to be like a couple cards each month?
I think the goal is to have a couple cards each month. I don't know the specifics, but I think it'll probably be 2 different rarities. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be a single legendary in some cases. Again, I don't know what they are going to be yet. I don't know that we've designed them yet, but or if he's got a bunch of cards in his back pocket that he'll pull out for that he hasn't shared. Again, I haven't seen the new reward cards that are coming out
Yes.
in 2 weeks.
To swap in one of the rewards cards for the promo card, and at least for the first month, give yourself a little buffer.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, not that I don't have access. I could go to the QA server and look at what they are. But I just have not made time to do that. And I figure I'll be surprised and see them with everybody else when they get released.
Cool. Well, August is turning out to be a big month for cards.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a big month for a lot of things. But we'll see what gets through QA and what we get finished coding up. But hopefully the guilds pages all get moved over sometime that month. I'm hoping we'll make some progress on at least parts of the voucher proposal, maybe the affiliate proposal, but we'll see what happens with that. I guess one other thing that I can touch on is goes back to the new player experience. We are looking at adjusting Glint kind of at the lower leagues. It is a pretty poor experience right now for how many wins you have to get before you can actually get lowest level chest. So we're probably going to be boosting up bronze and silver a bit so that it's a little better experience. I think we may start delegating out more SPS from the company to new players when they get their spellbook too. But we're still kind of talking around the exact numbers on that. But I think that's going to probably get prioritized fairly soon because we want to focus on things that will make the game better for new players.
Yeah, what's the like how many do you know about how many wins you need in bronze right now before you can get that lowest level chest?
I think it's around 15 right now on
Okay.
average, which is a lot, especially because you don't win 15.
Right, yeah, that's almost like that could be less than one, especially if you're just starting out, right? Like that's going to be less than one chest a day.
Yeah.
Um,
It could be one every 3 days. That's brutal.
yeah.
We'd like to get that number down to like 5 to 7 wins, probably somewhere in that range. And then it to scale up, like as you move up leagues, it should be about that much to get a chest that's more appropriate for your league. So, a rare chest or moving up to a major chest from a minor chest. So I expect we'll probably do that fairly soon. There are a couple other things that we're looking at doing along with that, which is it's kind of a weird that these all got tied together in the same project, but the creative department did make a bunch of animated icons for league advancement. So we're gonna be putting those into the game fairly soon. And that somehow got tied into reworking the glint per league.
Interesting. Okay. Has there been any thought to adjusting glint bonuses for I know that already exists for win streaks, but on the other side, maybe you beat somebody who's X rating points above you equates to a glint bonus, or you end a win streak equates to a glint bonus. Things like that where it kind of brings back the reward of beating a tough or tougher opponent.
Not currently. A lot of the discussion has been around rewarding tier advancement, moving up leagues and parts of leagues. So there's been some ideas that creative has been tossing back and forth about giving either some kind of reward basically for getting to that point. What that might be is still a little bit under discussion. I know that they want to add back in a new quest system at some point, so maybe some of those things might get encapsulated in that. Like beating an opponent so far ahead of you might be a weekly quest or a seasonal quest. But we'll see when we get more specific designs. That's a little bit further out, I think. Nate's got a lot of ideas. I'm sure you've talked to Nate. He's got a lot of ideas.
Oh yeah.
How long is it going to take those to get written up in a actionable format and moving over to the development team? Is a question and can be some delay there. But we do have some things that will probably be improved soon, or hopefully there'll be improvements.
So we go. Less streaming, more doing, Nate.
Well, why these got tied together was originally they were pushing for a flat reward per tier, which I don't think we're going to do. So rather than it be based off your rating, your rewards would be based off your tier as a kind of flat number for each, silver 1, silver 2, silver 3.
Mm.
I think we've agreed to not do that, and instead it became we're going to boost the glint rewards at lower level that's how we're going to fix the experience rather than removing the rating system from mattering for rewards as much.
It feels like, and maybe I'm reaching a little bit here, Gator, but it feels like there's a big bottleneck in the decisiveness of where do we go? How do we solve this stuff? And like we were talking about with the skins and that sort of stuff, it almost feels like an attempt to boil the ocean when actually we could just put a pot of water on the stove and expand that sort of thing. Is that do you kind of feel that that's an accurate depiction of what's happening there?
Sometimes I think it's a lot of people being stretched overly thin. So at the end of the day, usually things are Matt's decision on how things should work, what we should be implementing. And as CEO, he's got all kinds of additional responsibilities in terms of the business and being in meetings with all kinds of different people. So unless he delegates decisions to people, a lot of times there can be delay on waiting for specifications to get drawn up from him. There can also be delays with the creative department because when things do get moved over to them, it can take some time before they turn stuff around, or there's a lot of stuff that every little change that comes up on the UI in theory should have some creative input, but realistically there's probably not bandwidth for them to be going over the minutia of every single ticket we go through and bug we fix, change we make. And with the larger projects, they're fairly overwhelmed with the amount of work, I feel. There's still, we haven't really touched on land, but there's massive amounts of UI work for the next couple phases of land that I think they're still working on. And for all these proposal projects that keep coming up, when it's, well, we're changing how this works. How should we redesign the screens? Like, well, we've got 5 projects we're doing already. Let me toss this one on the pile. But yeah, sometimes I feel like we just need to come to a decision, or get some direction, or have somebody be put in charge of something for it to go forward. And a lot of times, I think things probably wouldn't take as long, or won't take that long once we've got, do this written down somewhere, what we should be doing. Not to say that we don't have plenty of work. It's just a matter of what bubbles to the top, and we've got a lot of things that are half-baked, also competing for attention.
Yeah. Is there room for additional delegation from Matt with respect to the decision making on some of this stuff? I mean, are we operating at an optimal kind of level with the current delegation of said decisions?
I think he could probably hand off more stuff, though that being said, I think some of the people that he's handed stuff off to are also starting to get overwhelmed with how much they have to do. I mean, Call Me Tim has been handed a lot of the card and game rule design work, and with the sales and the voucher reward shop and all these other things, he's got quite a list of cards design, and needs to figure out novel and interesting promotional cards for us to release, that we don't want to just put out something that's boring or duplicates existing cards to verbatim. And even the game rule decisions, there's a lot of minutia that we've got in our backlog of, how should force field interact with blanking on the name, charge attacks. When those go over the 5 damage, should they be reduced to 1? Should they not? And all kinds of decisions like that that have piled up in our backlog that are pending rules review for him to make decisions on. So there is probably some room, and things get sent to the creative department for them to design out. So there's definitely a lot of decision making that happens during that part of the process. But it is a small company, especially now, compared to a year ago or 2 years ago. And we're certainly getting stuff done, even though certain projects are taking longer to formulate or get final designs on than I'm sure most people would like.
Well, Gator, you've used the word overwhelmed a couple of times. Can we get a pulse from you on general sentiment of the team? How's the team as a collective feeling? Or is it we're just barely treading water? Are we making headway? Are we positive? Are we feeling really burned out?
I think it varies from person to person. So like Cryptomancer is pretty much just going to be focused on land for probably the foreseeable future.
Yeah, forever. I was gonna say forever.
Yeah, which is a giant project, and I feel bad that I feel like I should be doing parts of it, but I mean, so I think it's a little overwhelming for him about how much he has to figure out with how it works, because it is a confusing mess of code and database code. But I don't think he's necessarily overwhelmed with like the amount of projects he has, because he's just got one big project. Kind of probably the same with Antioch, who's got just, convert the battle screen. It's a giant project, but it's one big project. Just get it done, take the time that you need. I do think that I'm probably taking on too many projects, because most of the ones I've talked about, I think I'm going to end up doing. I think that Call Me Tim is probably feeling, I haven't talked to him too much about how he's feeling, but he's certainly got a lot on his plate. I think once the reward card sets are out, that's probably going to be a lot off of his workload. So we can kind of focus down onto more like individual card releases, which will probably be less than doing the full set design that he's been working on. And I mean, that's most of the team. There's the 2 people that are working on validators that are, I guess, now technically contractors for PJ, which is the whole DAO proposal to start paying them instead of us paying them. I guess there's Mancio, who just finished up doing the guild overhaul and is kind of working on bug fixing for tournaments and stuff. He's probably going to pick up, he's mainly a UI developer, so he'll probably be picking up some of the UI portions of the various tasks I've talked about. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty much all our developers I think I've touched on. Would be nice to have more help, but realistically, I don't know that unless we start seeing a large turnaround in player base and income, then that's going to happen anytime soon.
So with Jupiter being hired and contracted out the work for the validators, is the plan that essentially just extends runway by X amount of dollars over the next year that we'd be hiring Jupiter? Or is there plans to kind of reallocate those funds and hire another developer? Or
No,
is
I
that the
believe
team and we're looking at it?
that's the team and we're looking at it, I believe. I don't think we're going to be hiring anyone else. I think that's just going to extend our runway with the current staff. And to be fair, the DAO really shouldn't be paying for developing its own infrastructure. I'm not saying it needs to hire Jupiter as the company, but it should probably have been the one arranging for this hiring. I know it's been a very awkward transition of responsibility from the DAO being spun up and the company kind of making decisions, or Matt making decisions originally, to the DAO actually being a self-deterministic entity.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think it makes sense that the DAO, should pay for that. I don't know if anybody in the DAO ever thought that was something that we were going to need to do, and not the team. It seemed like the team kind of set all that out. They sold the nodes. They kind of handled it every step of the way. And then it's kind of like, hey, we're working on this. It's going to be almost done. And then it's like, oh, hey, wait a minute. You guys should be paying for this. So, I think if it was kind of conveyed better and earlier, then I think people wouldn't have had any problem with it. I mean, not that I think people have a problem with it now. I think people understand it, but um, I don't think the DAO is like to blame, that they should have necessarily recognized this earlier and taken this up earlier themselves. I think there's a lot of responsibility for the how it went down to go around.
Yeah, and I mean, the DAO as an organization is still fairly nebulous. I mean, there's not a lot of, before Clay got hired to kind of project manage, there was very little direction for like who's kind of driving the DAO towards goals or bringing up things that need to be done. The company was handling stuff for a long time, and probably longer than it should have been. So yeah, I'm not trying to blame the DAO, because the DAO, didn't necessarily exist or have any sort of individuals driving, that the DAO should be taking responsibility or making decisions for itself.
Well, the proposal has passed as of, I believe, yesterday. It finally crossed the finish line, and for the most part, overwhelming support, 87%. Do we know how soon actions are being taken there to get this underway? Is it effective immediately?
I am not sure what is going on with the DAO taking over paying for the development. As far as I know, it's still been ongoing throughout the whole process. I think the company has still been footing the bill until the proposal ran through. So I expect probably next month they'll need to figure out taking over payments for those developers to keep working. But
Well, if only we had a DAO treasurer around to ask who's transferring the funds.
Yeah, if only help.
yeah, that reminds me, I need to bring up getting those rebellion packs transferred over for replacing the leaderboard prizes at some point, because that was a proposal from a while ago that we still haven't implemented. But I think we might look at doing that, with maybe moving it to a tournament with Rebellion packs as prizes.
Cool.
But I don't know if we'll need to rerun that proposal, probably something to talk to Clay about, but it would be good to stop minting DEC for leaderboards, in my opinion.
No, I think that seems to be a generally agreed upon sentiment there, Gator. I think yeah, I'll be interested to hear what Clay says as far as do we need to rerun and reassess what is the community sentiment there. Speaking of proposals that have passed and not been implemented just yet, we didn't mention the rental costs minimums. Is that something that is to be expected anytime soon? I mean, I realize that's ultimately another decision that relies on Matt to kind of make, final cut there. But it passed, I want to say a couple months ago at this point. What's the status on that guy?
Not necessarily dead, but definitely backburnered from Matt. He did not feel it was good for new players to increase rental prices to 1 DEC. So for the time being, we're not implementing that. I was ready to do it, basically. I was like, hey, this passed, do you want me to change the minimum price? He's like, no, not really. Okay. So that is a good question to bring up to Matt of when he wants to honor that or if he ever wants us to honor that. But my feeling is we're probably not going to at this point in time.
Well, I mean, I think that's something we need to be aware of as the community and reminded of is, Matt's come out and suggested, if you feel like there's an alternative, put out an SPS DAO proposal and let's get a real picture of where the staked SPS sits on this subject. But at the end of the day, it's Matt's we're essentially using the DAO proposal as a survey, right? And the same is true. There's a proposal that's just moved to official voting now for another one that we put forth as the People's Guild for the Soulbound unlocks. But yeah, fully aware that even if it does pass with flying colors, it's still subject to Matt's discretion.
Yeah. Personally, have low expectations that he will want to do that even if it passes, because we have brought that up internally before, that should we, for many of the reasons discussed in the proposal, that, if you can't get cards, it's not a great experience. But I believe his feeling is that if you can't get cards, that's a reason to play to earn the cards. Not going to argue the point because I can understand as a competitive game, it's frustrating when you lose 2 cards that you don't have a way of necessarily getting in any particular time frame. Still haven't opened any IZRs on my main account.
No.
Whoa.
Oh, Gator.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly well, I've got some regular foils with your name on it, Gator. But man, what a frustrating experience. I don't understand. I mean, and I wonder, how much real anecdotal evidence does Matt have other than, this is strictly theoretical. This is how it should look and feel. I know he's got but Matt playing in Modern. It's my understanding that's a scholar. Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's tough for me to understand uh these very weighty gameplay decisions without actually playing the game. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
As someone who also plays the game, I don't necessarily always agree with the decisions that are made on some of the implementation, how we're going to do things. But at the end of the day, it is Matt's game and Matt's company to, make these decisions on. And I can understand his point that he wants people to have something to try to play towards and something to earn. But I can also understand it being frustrating that we made it a random thing that you might get. So there's no clear like sense that you're gonna necessarily progress towards getting that card or leveling it up in any particular time frame. So
Well, I would go as far as saying Izzyar is probably why you're stuck in Champ 3, man. That's that's absolutely brutal.
yeah, my level one Kulu.
No, no,
Ooh.
Gator. Oh man.
I got higher level ones on my alt account, which plays in silver.
Yeah, go figure. RNG is
Yeah,
she's a bitch, man. She's Louise.
yeah, I am usually a proponent of less RNG in things. I prefer more strategy and more thinking being involved. I do like that we added tactics, and I hope that we can add more elements that put more gameplay decisions in the player's hands rather than matches being determined by randomness.
Yeah. I mean, for a long time, and being a manual player, you experienced it firsthand. The Grimbar Dune meta was ugly, and it was all RNG scattershot related. And I think with Cryptic and with Venka, we've seen the tide turn a little bit more back towards strategy based. So credit to Call Me Tim for kind of balancing the scales with that one. But yeah, the card soulbound stuff. I mean, obviously you know where I stand putting that proposal out. So
Talk about massive wish lists. Making a new game mode where it's actually a active play style game and converting the cards over, but that's not even on the table anywhere that I know of, but something that I always think would be a great expansion to kind of the ecosystem. So
yeah.
we certainly went overboard with off the wall project ideas a couple of years ago. So
Oh, GLS, man. Oh boy.
yeah, it actually looks pretty nice now. I don't know how many people are playing, but I saw some of the more recent screenshots from the game, and it's come a long way. They I feel like they should have waited to release it until it looked more like
Yeah,
this now.
It actually
I was
looks
going to
fun
ask if that
now.
was still around.
Yeah,
So
I think so. I think there's still I think they're still running tournaments and stuff, but yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
The game does look much better though, to your point.
I don't have any real inside knowledge about the operations of GLS, Invenium, Arcade Colony, anything that kind of Aggie's companies off doing. Um, but yeah, I'm in the discords. I see what's going on publicly. I don't personally play the game. I barely have enough time to play Splinterlands as it is, so I can't take up really any more collectible card games.
Yeah. Well, Gator, tell us. I mean, let's try and wrap this thing up with some positive sentiment, man. How are you feeling personally, and are you still finding great joy in the game, and are you feeling like we're going to be able to right the ship and land on the sunny shores of Pretoria over the course of the next year? And yeah, just let's hear your take on all of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty hopeful that when we get the new player experience finished being cleaned up, that if we actually do a push to get people to come back and try the game again, that we'll see an upswing in play, slowly working on for the last couple of years. So I am very hopeful that we'll start to get out of the technical debt, past debt of things that we promised or sold, and projects that we started and have yet to still finish, and start to actually get towards starting new things and adding new gameplay and being able to build up on things. So I'm hopeful that, probably sooner than a year, in the next 3 to 6 months, we'll definitely see a lot of big improvements to the game experience, and hopefully that will translate into more players.
Cool. Well,
Nice.
Gator, tell us one last question from me, and then happy to turn it over to you to kind of take us home. Gator, is there anything in your mind that we, the community, can do to help out? I mean, should we put a moratorium on proposals and stop giving you guys more work? Should we, what should and can we do to help you guys out?
I mean, proposals are fine if there's changes that the community wants to see. It's a good way to get the Matt's attention, especially if it's something under the purview of the DAO. Then by all means, make a proposal to change it. I think some understanding among the community would be good, because I do read a lot of the Discord. I tried not to respond because I feel like, usually coming from a company, I should stay out of arguments and discussions. I'll leave that to the volunteer mods, but it's been 6 years. We're trying to make the best game we can for people. Matt is trying to do things intentionally to drive value to the community and the tokens rather than the company. The negativity on Discord from some people is definitely something that kind of, I think, wears on people. So I would like to see people push back besides just gank on who generally goes overboard. When people are coming in saying that the company is trying to, take people's money and whatnot, we're trying to make a game. We're trying to roll out a new collectible card game where new cards to a collectible card game where you actually own your cards. We're not doing any of this to, try to take people's money and run off in the night. I think after 6 years, Matt had his chance to do that. There's no secret cabal of people that are deciding, things behind the scenes for the game. There's Matt, who talks to people in the community. If you want to share your opinions, there's the town hall. As always, opinions are welcome, but please share them in a courteous fashion. That's always received better. And I don't know, if you see new people coming in, be friendly. We want to encourage new players. If you're in there telling them how everything's terrible, I don't know how you would expect them to want to stick around in that kind of environment. So from our end, we're going to try to do our best to improve the experience and make the game much easier to understand for new players. And for everybody else, just try to be a welcoming community, hopefully like it was when most other people joined in the past. And that's pretty much my ask. Long-winded as it may be.
No, sounds good. Totally agree. Yeah, I think
Cool.
can't say any better than that.
Yeah. All right, Gator. Well, yeah, congratulations again, man. Thank you for all the hard work and all there's a lot of stuff that you do that I think makes it public more so than some of the other developers. And you always bring a good balanced outlook on what's going on and what the future holds. And yeah, we all appreciate what you do for us on a daily basis, man. Hopefully brighter skies are ahead and hopefully some vacation time. It sounds like you and everybody else could use some coming up.
Well, thanks for having me on. Hope that was mildly interesting and that people enjoy listening to it. I know I'm not the most exciting person on the team to talk to all the time, but it was good talking to you.
No, it was great. Yeah, thanks for your time, man. Definitely appreciate it. Always good to hear what you've got going on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I'm sure everybody will say hi to Bear. So on behalf of everybody, hello to Bear. I know he's kind of become a favorite to be seen on town halls, and now we don't get to see him but once a month maybe. So
Yeah, I'll try to get him on the next one.
There you go.
cool. All right, everybody. Well, I think we're likely going to be taking a couple of weeks off to start August, but we will be back here in a couple of weeks with a fresh episode for you guys. But in the meantime, hopefully you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. You have been listening to
The People's Guild.